I'd like you to meet someone who's got a lot to answer for. His name is Mike Oldfield.
Hello.
Now, what I mean is, you single-handedly, really, created Richard Branson.
He's not an android. Yeah, I put him together in the laboratory and waited for the lightning to come and created him. No, sorry. What do you mean by that?
Well, you recorded Tubular Bells, which was Virgin's very first album.
All right.
Which sold how many?
Well, 1 or 2.
9 million.
Something like that, yeah.
Which obviously did set up Virgin Records.
It's true, but at the same time, I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for Richard. And, well, some of the people around him. Because you have to remember that I've been booted out of every record company in the whole industry before I actually found Virgin Records. Because they said the Tubular Bells, who wants to listen to instrumental music, not marketable. So it's worked both ways,
Do you think, really, that if Virgin hadn't existed, that record would never have seen the light of day?
I'm certain of it, yes. It was just the attitude towards the demos was so negative. They said, oh yes, good music, good musicianship, but it's not going to sell anything, and if it's not going to sell anything, it's useless to record companies in those days. Probably the same now, I should think. Maybe even more difficult now, apart from maybe some independent labels, but I think I'd have even more trouble trying to sell Tubular Bells. I don't even think Virgin would buy it nowadays.
How much did it cost to make?
Very little, actually. I mean, there's only one musician on it, me, or there's a couple of other people. And a lot of the time I used the downtime at the Manor studios, so there was nobody in there anyway. It sometimes meant I'd have to work in the middle of the night, through the night, so that the paying band could get in the day, So I used up all the empty studio time. I think it cost £3,000, which is nothing in terms of album costs.
Having had an album that was #1 for 16 months...
Yeah, that's quite a record, isn't it?
I suppose if it's never happened to you before, maybe you think, oh, well, that's what I do in life. I make an album that stays #1 for 16 months. Did it feel like that?
Well, I got used to it after a while. I mean, put it like this, people often ask me, did I expect Tubular Bells to be a success? And all I'd say is that if I hadn't believed it wasn't going to be a success, I would never have had the determination to carry on trying to push it after being rejected by so many people. So I just dug my heels in and say, I'm going to make this record. I don't care what you think, and it's going to be successful.
You said that you and Richard Branson, obviously, it's kind of, you owe him as much as he owes you, in a sense. Does he feel the same as you do about it?
I believe he does, actually. Yes, there's a certain loyalty from him towards me, and a debt which I think he acknowledges, and he's still friends.
How does he show this loyalty?
Well, for example, my last album, I was trying to think of a good way of launching it, to the press and stuff, and I thought, I wonder if Richard would lend me one of his jumbo jets. And so we rang him up, and he said, sure, yeah. So we had this launch party on a jumbo jet, and we were doing aerobatics over the Scilly Isles, It was really, really unique launch party.
Has he not invited you to go up on his balloon, on a balloon race? Or?
I went up with him once on a balloon. Although I know how to fly airplanes, I've got a pilot's license and helicopter license, I'm still a bit scared of heights. And I think you'll find that most pilots are scared of heights. I've spoken to many airline captains. That's the reason why they're pilots, because there's a fascination with heights and this sort of feeling of insecurity. And I can tell you firsthand, being in a tiny balloon with a basket so you can see underneath your feet, and you're 7,000 feet up in the air, and you're looking straight down the funnel of the Didcot power station, is not a pleasant experience. When we started to come into land, Richard had run out of fuel, or almost run out of fuel to land. So what we did, we came down over this factory area. We bounced like that in the car park, and then bonk, and we landed on the roof of this bakery where they make cakes and stuff. And then we were just sitting there on the roof, and all the people came out, and there's a balloon up there. Then the police arrived, and I thought, oh my God, we're going to be arrested now. This is illegal. You can't land on a roof, can you? And, they were just coming up to us, I felt the handcuffs coming out, and they saw it's Richard. I said, oh, Richard, we ended up having tea with the police sergeant, didn't we,
How did you get down off the roof then?
Well, the fire brigade came up with ladders. It was a fun afternoon, but balloon flying, you've got no control over where you're going. You're just sort of hanging there.
The song that you did called 5 Miles Out, with this very disturbing image.
Well, yeah, that's about fear of flying, basically. That track was inspired by a trip we did in Spain. I decided to try and do a little mini tour in a twin-engine plane. Seemed like a good idea at the time, until we took off from Barcelona. We got a really bad weather forecast. They told us there were thunderstorms around, but they told us that they were isolated, so you could go around them. In fact, we took off, we were in thick cloud, and the thunderstorms were embedded in the cloud, so you got no idea, you couldn't go around them. We found ourselves in the position the engines were completely turned off. We were going up about 4,000 feet a minute. There was hailstones this size smashing against the windscreen, denting the front of the wings. When we got back on the ground, it was almost big dents in the wings. And we'd been going like this. God knows, we could have been upside down anywhere. And that song was inspired by the experience of suddenly just poof, came out of a cloud and there was blue sky.